Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the wildfire emergency in the Northeast and the fire in New York City. Some train service halted. Also breaking, the major factory explosion, multiple injuries. Workers rushed to the hospital. Residents urged to shelter in place. First tonight, firefighters battling multiple fires in and around New York City. And an electrical fire forcing Amtrak to suspend some service. Also, the red flag warnings from New York all the way up to Boston. Army National Guard helicopters now being used for water drops. Winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour, fanning the flames. And the major change now coming in the weather tomorrow. Also tonight, the massive factory explosion in Louisville. Witnesses say it felt like an earthquake. The blast heard for miles. At least 11 people hurt. Part of the facility collapsing. A shelter-in-place order for a time. Tonight, American Airlines now says one of its planes was shot at, too, while flying in and out of Haiti. And this evening, the FAA now banning all U.S. flights to Haiti. The news coming in at this hour on President-elect Donald Trump's new team. Trump now expected to name South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to head the Department of Homeland Security. And sources telling ABC News Senator Marco Rubio will likely become Trump's Secretary of State. And just in tonight, Trump's pick to head the CIA. At the big meeting tomorrow, President-elect Trump and President Biden at the White House. In New York City tonight, the judge in President-elect Trump's hush money conviction delaying the immunity ruling in that case. Trump's attorneys now arguing his felony conviction should be tossed out because of the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. So what happens now? Overseas tonight, the alarming scene in Amsterdam. Protesters setting off explosives inside a tram. Authorities believe some targeting Jews. Some of the attackers yelling anti-Semitic slurs, police bracing for more violent clashes. Here in the U.S. tonight, the father and husband missing, who was presumed dead. Tonight, the stunning twist. After searching for 54 days, authorities now believe he may have faked his own death and where they believe he is now. Tonight, a Massachusetts National Guard member who pleaded guilty to leaking highly classified military documents is now sentenced. And tonight here, remembering the singer called the First Lady of Children's Music, her unforgettable songs that had the children singing.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here at a very busy Tuesday night. The major factory explosion, workers rushed to the hospital. Also, President-elect Trump and his new picks, his choice tonight to head the CIA. But we begin tonight with the wildfire threat across the Northeast and now multiple fires in and around New York City. In fact, the National Weather Service, again moments ago, issuing red flag warnings from New York all the way to Boston. Tonight, 30 million Americans are under fire alerts. Army National Guard Black Hawk helicopters dropping water on the Jennings Creek fire just miles from the city. Winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour, fanning the flames. And tonight, fires erupting in the Bronx, one in a high voltage line that powers trains. Amtrak tonight suspending trains in both directions. The images of firefighters gearing up to tackle the fire along the New York-New Jersey border. And the new warnings tonight from the governors of New York to Massachusetts, the whole region bone dry. ABC's Trevor Ault leading us off near the fire lines in Greenwood Lake, New York.
Tonight, firefighters battling multiple fires in New York City. In the Bronx, an Amtrak high-voltage feeder line catching fire. Officials shutting down power and suspending service in both directions. While just outside the city, high winds fueling the Jennings Creek wildfire along the New York-New Jersey border. More than 5,000 acres charred, and residents like Barbara Lambert ready to run if the wind shifts.
So you're ready to leave right now?
Yeah, I got my stuff packed. You don't know. You never know.
Hundreds of volunteer firefighters coming to assist from all over the region, while National Guard Blackhawks make water drops. Today, New York's governor surveying the damage.
Last night, we had a very difficult touch-and-go situation, but I thank God for the teams we had on the ground that created the fire line necessary to protect these individuals' homes.
The danger rising throughout the Northeast. In Massachusetts, where hundreds of fires have broken out this year, the governor begging everyone to conserve water.
And David, Massachusetts governor is urging common sense. Meantime, New York's governor has issued a statewide burn ban as many of these areas are enduring their driest fall on record. David?
No question about that. Trevor Ault leading us off here tonight. Trevor, thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station, WABC, tracking the fire danger and this big change now coming. Lee?
David, same dry story here in the Northeast. Those strong winds that have been whipping all day long, taking some of that smoke from the fire that Trevor is covering right down into New York City from time to time. And we have low humidity and still strong winds tomorrow. They do back off. But as you said, red flag warnings continue from New York City up to Boston. And we have even drier air coming in. Now, it's not the balmy wind of last week. It's now a cold wind. It's the coldest area of the season. Frost and freeze alerts go down into Virginia. North Carolina will be near freezing. In Philly and New York and Boston in the morning, it'll feel like we're in the 20s. Hurricane season got off to a slow start, but powering through the finish line. A 90% chance of development in the Western Caribbean later in the week, likely to become a depression. The next name on the list is Sarah, and while impact in the U.S. is uncertain, Florida has to be on alert into midweek next week. David?
All right, Lee Goldberg with us here again tonight. Lee, thanks so much. We turn now to President-elect Donald Trump tonight, who will travel to the White House tomorrow to meet with President Biden. And tonight, Trump moving quickly to name his new team. Expected to name South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem to head the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees immigration. And sources tonight telling ABC News that Senator Marco Rubio will likely become Trump's Secretary of State. And just in tonight, Trump's pick to head the CIA. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, President-elect Donald Trump naming one of his staunchest campaign supporters, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, to lead the massive Department of Homeland Security.
Are you ready?
A true Trump loyalist, Noem a fixture on the campaign trail.
Yes, they love you. You're the one who protects them.
Trump once considered Noem as a potential running mate, but her star dimmed after writing in her memoir that she had shot and killed the family dog. As DHS Secretary, the former Congresswoman will oversee FEMA, the Secret Service, and the Coast Guard. But her key focus will be on immigration, ICE, and the Border Patrol. Noem will be tasked with implementing the president-elect's signature campaign promise of mass deportations.
President Trump has already indicated that he wants to start by making sure that we're deporting the most dangerous first, those criminals, murderers, rapists that are threatening safety in our communities.
Tonight, the president-elect fleshing out his national security team with a surprise pick for Secretary of Defense. Fox host Pete Hegseth.
Pretty good week.
It's been a good week.
I'd say so myself.
Hegseth, an Army combat veteran who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo Bay, also led several conservative veterans organizations. He is currently a weekend co-host of Fox and Friends and has long been close with the president-elect. This as Trump moved to name Florida Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State.
We are patriots who love America, and thank you for running.
Rubio, who sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, hawkish on China. But his views on Ukraine have shifted over the years, recently voting against increased aid, a position more in line with Trump's.
Take over, Elijah. Take over.
And late tonight, another announcement.
He's a character. He's a special guy. He's a super genius.
Trump tonight announcing billionaire Elon Musk will lead a new Department of Government Efficiency. It won't be a federal agency, but it is geared to provide advice and guidance from outside of government. Musk himself, who pumped more than $100 million into electing Trump, says he could find $2 trillion of waste in the federal budget.
We could do at least $2 trillion.
But Musk has acknowledged those cuts wouldn't come without some temporary hardship. The president-elect announcing Musk will work as a team with former Republican candidate and Trump backer, tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
And David, this transition is moving very quickly. Just moments ago, President-elect Donald Trump announced that his former director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, will be the next director of the CIA. Trump himself has said that he wanted to exert more power over the intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. In Ratcliffe, he does find himself a loyal Trump ally. And tomorrow, the president-elect will travel right here to Washington, D.C. to meet with President Biden one-on-one in the Oval Office of the White House. He will also come here to Capitol Hill to meet with congressional Republicans too, David.
A lot of eyes on that meeting at the White House tomorrow. Rachel Scott, thank you. In New York City, President-elect Trump still faces that jury conviction in the hush money election interference case. Trump's attorneys arguing it should be tossed out because of the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity. And tonight, the judge in the case ordering a delay. Let's get right to Aaron Katursky following the case for us. Aaron, where does this go from here?
It really is uncertain, David, because no court has ever been confronted with a president-elect awaiting sentencing on felony charges. Trump said today his conviction for trying to hide a hush payment to a porn star before the 2016 election should be thrown out to avoid unconstitutional impediments to his ability to govern. Prosecutors conceded these are unprecedented times here, but they asked for more time to consider how the jury's verdict back in May could impact the office of president. The judge agreed to give them 1 week before he decides whether Trump should take office unencumbered by any criminal proceeding. It is a test, David, of the American principle that no one is above the law. David.
Aaron Katursky in Lower Manhattan tonight. Thanks, Aaron. We're also following a massive explosion at a factory in Louisville, Kentucky tonight. Witnesses say it felt like an earthquake. Workers rushed to the hospital. Massive damage tonight to the commercial building. Part of the facility collapsing. At least 11 workers hospitalized. We've learned 2 in critical condition tonight. The blast blowing parts of the building on top of these railroad cars right behind the factory. A shelter-in-place order for a time for families in the area. ABC's Steve Osunsami with the images just now coming in.
People who live near the plant that blew up say it felt like an earthquake.
At that time, I heard the big sound. Every light is gone for a second.
From the sky, our local station in Louisville is sharing these pictures of what's left of the building.
Explosion with smoke clouds at 1901 Payne Street.
It's an old manufacturing facility that makes food coloring, and at least 11 people had to be hospitalized.
Everyone that we are aware of that was working in the facility and around the facility currently that we're aware of have been accounted for.
The blast was strong enough to blow parts of the building on top of these railroad cars behind the factory. Louisville authorities, concerned about a possible ammonia leak, ordered families who live within a mile of the explosion to stay in their homes for hours. Some left with suitcases. In 2003, an explosion at this same plant released a massive amount of ammonia.
We have air monitoring on the scene right now, and all of the air monitoring is clear at this point in time.
Authorities have lifted the shelter-in-place order. They're not sure what caused this explosion, but say that the plant's emergency response system likely saved lives of the people who were hurt, who are in critical condition. David.
Steve Osunsami with us tonight. Steve, thank you. Tonight, the FAA has now banned all U.S. airlines from flying to Haiti 24 hours after that Spirit Airlines passenger jet with Americans on board was struck by gunfire, bullets piercing the cabin. And tonight here, American Airlines now says one of its planes was shot at too. Gio Benitez on this again tonight.
Tonight, a third U.S. airline hit by gang gunfire in Haiti just 24 hours after we saw these hard-to-believe images. Bullet holes inside the cabin of this Spirit Airlines flight hit as it came in for landing in Port-au-Prince. Now tonight, the FAA saying it is banning all U.S. airlines from going to Haiti. The notice going out to all pilots prohibiting any and all operations below 10,000 feet for the next 30 days due to safety of flight risks associated with ongoing security and stability. American Airlines telling ABC News it's just discovered one of its planes was also struck by a bullet in Haiti Monday morning, flying at least 4 more flights before noticing. That's at least the third flight hit this week. That Spirit Airlines flight from Fort Lauderdale coming in for landing when gangs opened fire. Passengers detailing the heart-pounding ordeal as the plane diverted safely to the Dominican Republic.
There were 2 big crashes behind me. Then shortly after the crashes, the plane immediately started accelerating.
As one flight attendant was recovering from minor injuries, we were learning of another incident at the same airport. This time, a JetBlue flight headed for New York was struck by a bullet. The plane landing without incident, only realizing it was hit after a post-flight inspection. The airport in Haiti now closed amid a surge of violence and political unrest. And David, while the State Department has told Americans not to travel to Haiti since 2020, if they are still there, officials want them to stay in contact with the U.S. Embassy. David.
Gio Benitez with us again tonight. Thank you, Gio. Overseas tonight, the very alarming scene playing out in Amsterdam. Protesters setting off explosives inside a tram. Authorities believe some targeting Jews. Some attackers yelling anti-Semitic slurs. Here's our foreign correspondent, James Longman, tonight.
Tonight, Amsterdam again on edge after a night of violence targeting Jews. Rioters setting off explosives inside a tram, igniting a fire, filling the cars with smoke. Some of the attackers yelling anti-Semitic slurs, throwing bricks, leaving windows shattered. At least 3 people were arrested. The city on high alert just days after Dutch authorities say anti-Semitic mobs ambushed Israeli soccer fans in the streets. Videos circulating online show this man pushed to the ground and beaten. Dutch officials say the attacks fueled by calls on social media to target Jews. But some Israeli soccer fans heard chanting anti-Arab slurs, others ripping down this Palestinian flag, shouting, "No children left in Gaza." Anger on both sides, fueled in part by the war in Gaza and the massive humanitarian toll.
And David, there is another soccer match this Thursday in Paris between France and Israel. Security is high. Thousands of police are being called up. David?
James Longman from London tonight. James, thank you. Back in the U.S. tonight into a case making national headlines tonight. The Wisconsin husband and father of 3. He was presumed dead after vanishing while kayaking in August. But tonight authorities now say they believe he's alive, that he faked his death and may be hiding overseas. Here's Eva Pilgrim.
Tonight, an international search for a missing father of 3 from Wisconsin, who authorities say faked his own death and may have run off to Eastern Europe with a woman he met online.
I was totally shocked. It was just unbelievable that we would have a case like this, where somebody actually staged his death.
45-year-old Ryan Borgart vanished from Green Lake in Wisconsin in August. Police found his kayak, his car, along with his wallet, keys, and license. But for 54 days, search teams using sonar and divers scoured this lake in vain.
What a waste of time that we did. We put so much time and effort into that case.
Police say it all unraveled when they learned Ryan's passport was used in Canada the day after he disappeared. A search of his computer revealed the married father was talking online to a woman from Uzbekistan. He had recently taken out a $375,000 life insurance policy and moved money overseas. The sheriff pleading for Ryan to come home, saying his wife, children, and parents forgive him.
I plead that you contact us or contact your family. We understand that things can happen, but there's a family that wants their daddy back.
The FBI is also involved in this investigation. The sheriff telling us that they're looking into if anyone helped him. At this point, they think Ryan Borgart is somewhere in Eastern Europe. David.
Eva Pilgrim with us tonight. Eva, thank you. When we come back here, a Massachusetts National Guard member has been sentenced tonight after pleading guilty to leaking highly classified military documents. And tonight here, we remember a beloved singer. She was called the First Lady of Children's Music. You'll know her songs. Tonight, Massachusetts Air National Guard member Jack Teixeira has been sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for violating the Espionage Act. He pleaded guilty to leaking highly classified documents about the war in Ukraine, posting them online. He apologized in court for the harm he caused. When we come back here tonight, we remember a beloved singer and the story of 2 dogs tonight, 2 best friends looking for a home. To the Index, legendary folk artist Ella Jenkins has died. She's called the First Lady of Children's Music.
You'll sing a song and I'll sing a song.
Inspiring generations of children through her music, including You'll Sing a Song and I'll Sing a Song. 39 albums in all. Ella Jenkins was 100 years old. When we come back here tonight, the story of 2 dogs in the shelter for a very long time and what their caretakers noticed.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Pacific Life, creating financial security for nearly 160 years.
Finally tonight, the story of 2 dogs, 2 best friends, and one very happy ending. Tonight in Greenville, South Carolina, the 2 dogs at the shelter for so long and their bond. 3-year-old Relly and 6-year-old Boone, the longest residents at the Greenville Humane Society. Relly, a retriever mix, arrived last December. She was shy, easily frightened, taking her a while to warm up to strangers. Boone is a hound and he's deaf, spending more than 150 days at the shelter in need of love and patience too. But the workers at that shelter would witness something extraordinary. Relly and Boone, who cannot hear, becoming inseparable. For months, playing together, keeping each other company as the other dogs got new families. As Relly hit 309 days at the shelter, the workers posted this letter from a family who had fostered her, hoping someone would see it and adopt her. The family writing, Relly is such a sweet dog. She's very skittish, but by the first day she quickly warmed up to our dogs. She'll be a great addition to your family. And it worked. Grayson Boyd and Daniel Boone, seeing that letter, they'd been looking to adopt a dog. Relly, nervous, skittish when they went to meet her at the shelter, and the workers telling them that Relly would benefit from a companion. And they knew just the right one, Boone, her best friend. The 2 dogs would go home together. And tonight, here they are, playing, going on walks, and napping in their new favorite spot.
Hi, David.
Grayson and Daniel right here telling us it was meant to be.
When we actually saw Boone, his name kind of called out to us, Daniel Boone, Boone. You know, once we saw Boone come out, it really was like a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Relly and Boone together forever with their forever family. And look at Boone, clearly ready for another walk.
Come, Boone. Come on.
It doesn't get better than that. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.